welcome back. Cage Kiplinger, Logan Hubert. This is the KNL Sports Huddle, episode number 46. Lots to get to today on the show. Recording this on Wednesday, January 21st. We'll be recapping the Divisional Round weekend in the NFL, giving out our picks against the spread for the AFC and NFC title games, recapping a fantastic CFP national title game between Indiana and Miami. And then we have a topic in Major League Baseball that has many fan bases up in arms. Logan, good to see you again today. Get us started when you're ready.
Yes, sir. One football season is officially over and just 4 teams left in the other main one. So
Final four.
We're nearing the end. We are nearing the end of football season. But to get things started with the weekly Whiplash, we will focus mainly on the NFL because there's been all kinds of coaching hires and coordinator hires lately. Starting off, John Harbaugh, longtime Ravens coach, has taken the job of head coach for the New York Giants. So he will be the the mentor for quarterback Jackson Dart. Giants, pretty bad organization these last quarter century, despite 2 outlier years. It's probably good they got a guy who's had lots of experience of winning. So I like the hire. Can he fix this organization though? That's the question.
Yeah, the news of this came out like literally the day after we recorded last week, and I thought, well, this is going to be old news by the time we come back around. But it took like 4 or 5 days before he actually was able to agree on a contract with them. It was kind of weird that it took so long.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought maybe he was holding out for like the Bills job or something if that came open, but wasn't the case. He took that Giants job, so he will be in the NFC East. Another former coach from last year and from the AFC North, Kevin Stefanski, is taking the Atlanta Falcons job. He is leaving the Cleveland Browns and becoming their Atlanta Falcons' new head coach, Matt Ryan, who is the team's new president. Big first move for him. A lot of people around the league and fans in general think Stefanski is a pretty good coach. He was just a part of a horrible organization and just a chaotic situation. And not saying the Atlanta Falcons are much better, but compared to the Browns, yes, they are. So it could be interesting. The Falcons definitely have several offensive weapons, and Stefanski's an offensive guy. So I also like this hire. Do you have any strong takes on this one?
No, I mean, I knew he'd probably get picked. This was the one firing that I thought he'd get picked up pretty quickly, and not just a coordinator, but a head coaching job. So yeah.
Yep. And the Miami Dolphins have also found a new head coach, the Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley. Don't know what to think of this one. Obviously, first time head coaching gig for Hafley in the NFL. So I don't know. He's taking over an organization that I don't really know the direction they're going to go with.
Well, it's a course correction for them after the slick offensive coordinator and Mike McDaniel that they had. Now they get a defensive coordinator, but not an overly, I guess, successful defensive coordinator. I mean, once Micah Parsons went down, it definitely hurt his defense, but didn't show out really after that injury.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's a good leader, and they saw that in him because
good locker room guy, perhaps.
We've seen guys who've been kind of mediocre coordinators become great coaches just because that just fits who they are, and then we've seen great coordinators suck as head coaches because
we've definitely seen that.
So yeah, we'll see. I don't like the situation he's going into at all right now. No quarterback. I don't know what their offensive identity will be, but. We shall see, I guess. And then finally in the AFC South, Robert Saleh is leaving the 49ers defense and becoming the Tennessee Titans' new head coach. This is his second head coaching job. He was the New York Jets head coach for a couple of years until he got fired from there, became the 49ers D coordinator, had some success there, given a lot of his players got hurt.
Yeah.
But it was a mistake picking the 49ers last week. I regretted it. I regretted it before the game started because there was news of Saleh doing head coaching interviews that week. That always 99% of the time that always leads to the underprepared unit in my and that's what we kind of saw. But well, he's going to the Tennessee Titans, who at least they have a quarterback. I think it's a better situation than the Dolphins. They don't have much else talent around, but they do have a high draft pick, and I believe they have a lot of money to work with too. So, not a bad situation. I would say that the Titans have obviously had more recent success than the Jets did, so I think this is a little better job for him than he's walking into than the Jets was. But I don't know. You live in Nashville, you probably have a better feeling about this than I do.
Yeah, this is making up for the one that got away in Mike Vrabel, bringing in the same type of defensive mindset that Saleh brings. It's a good hire. If I were him, I wouldn't have probably picked this job. I would have held up for something better. But yeah, I think it's a good move by the Titans.
There's news that isn't Brian Daboll potentially taking this offensive coordinator job. I think I saw that today. So that's a pretty good duo right there. That's two former head coaches. Daboll had obviously a lot of success as a offensive coordinator with the Bills, and in his first year with the Giants, he fixed Daniel Jones, Saquon temporarily. So, I mean, the Titans might be headed in the right direction. Don't know if we'll see immediate results, but with these two hires, I like what they're doing. And finally, I would say probably the hottest guy looking for a coordinator spot would be Mike McDaniel, and it looks like he's going to the Chargers. He's like the perfect description of what we just talked about. Really good coordinator, not a good coach, but he had several interviews for offensive coordinator spots. I know the Lions wanted him, Eagles considered, but ultimately, it looks like he's going with the Chargers, and he'll be dealing with man and those weapons. So if Herbert ultimately fails again, will they blame Herbert or will they blame his offensive coordinator for the fifth or sixth time? Yeah, so we shall see. But I like it for the Chargers. And yep, there's our weekly Whiplash. Any comments on that? Or are we ready to jump into divisional?
I think we're ready. We got 4 games to go over, and I think this first one's the one that I want to spend the most time on. It's the Denver Broncos and Buffalo Bills. Broncos come away with the 33-30 victory in overtime. This one was a classic AFC slugfest in the thin air at Mile High. But they traded blows deep into overtime. The Broncos ultimately winning on a 23-yard field goal to advance. A quirky, unforgettable moment came when 315-pound offensive lineman Frank Crum scored a touchdown, catching a pass after a Bills turnover, bulldozing into the end zone. But Bills quarterback Josh Allen had his moments. But turnovers and Denver's opportunistic defense repeatedly swung momentum. This loss caps another bitter playoff weekend for Buffalo fans, still feeling the sting of narrow postseason defeats, most notably the 13-second game. Everyone's talking about a couple of important plays in this one. The Jaquan McMillan INT snatching it from the grasp of wide receiver Brandon Cooks. First thoughts on that. I know that was a very controversial play in this one, and I think what most people are saying is that they didn't look at it for long enough. It felt pretty quick in real time, but after seeing it a few times, it's pretty clear. It was an interception, just a bang play.
I don't mind that call. You described exactly how I felt. I don't mind the call because I mean the ball never hit the ground, so it could only be a catch or an INT. And it was really 50-50, and whatever the ref called, a lot of people are going to be mad. It didn't matter what they called. But yeah, my issue was it was so close. But yeah, let's just look at it. 5 seconds. Oh, it's good. It's good.
It felt really fishy that like it just moved
that was very
that quickly that we didn't just spend fishy. Some time on it.
And then but then the whole argument of what is a catch comes into play again.
I don't think we'll ever know this.
We will never know this. Yeah, we will never know this, and I don't think. Well, refs know what it is, but a lot of times it depends on what teams are playing, I think.
Right.
It's so inconsistent.
Well, to finish things out, the defensive pass interference penalty on Buffalo Broncos were letting it fly against man coverage late to set up the field goal to tie it going into overtime. I know you had some feelings on that. The way you saying you lost respect for the Broncos a little
Well,
bit for the way
yeah,
they were
not
doing
because
that.
I mean, I like taking it. I've always said this: basketball, football. I enjoy team. I like watching teams take advantage of the rules, even if it's painful to watch because yeah, you're just exploiting the rule book and finding a way to win that's legal until they change the rules. But it was just such an awful way for that game to end. I think everyone can agree with that. Just Bo Nix just throwing rainbow balls, and then what else can the Bills do unless they're like Darrell? They don't have any Darrell Revises back there, or anybody, or any Ed Reeds.
Yeah,
So I mean, they're likely going to grab. But what made me mad was that I mean, I thought both of them were ticky tack. Like, sure, you could call pass interference on both, but that was not how they called it the rest of the game. Like, I don't know why they picked and choose to do that. Right, call it then right there. I mean, go back to the I don't know if it was a drive before or a couple drives before. Who was it? Cooks who ran into the. He got held pretty egregiously in the end zone, and what I would say to the same exact thing that the Bills did to the Broncos in that final drive, and it wasn't called. All fans want is consistency. Yeah, refs aren't perfect, but I feel like you could be more consistent and call it like that. And yeah, it was just a bad ending to that game. To what else was a great game.
yeah, and we'll stay on the Denver side of this because unfortunate news came out after the win. For Denver, as QB Bo Nix sustained a broken bone in his ankle in one of the last plays of the game. It came on that design QB sweep, and he will miss the remainder of the playoffs. It's a tough break. We're getting Jarrett Stidham for the AFC title game and on if they're able to get past New England. But um, what did you think when that news came out? It was kind of a heartbreaking moment for like a team that's, I mean, obviously been one of the best in football, and they making it to the title conference title game. Kind of puts them on their heels coming into that one.
Well, it just came out of nowhere. I mean, that was the whole thing. Like, there was no point at all at the end of the game or during the game, obviously, where you thought, "Oh no, Bo Nix is hurt." Like, like everything looked normal. He seemed happy after the game.
Right.
Really
They
no
did
limp.
the post game interview with the sideline reporter, and everything seemed fine.
Everything seemed fine, and then Sean Payton just came out in this press conference and just dropped that nuclear bomb. And yeah, I mean, I was pretty shocked to read that. But then I remembered, oh, they're playing the Patriots, and the Patriots have just benefited from this shit all year. So of course. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate because I thought Bo Nix was great in this game. I mean, he's a game manager for most of the game, but come clutch time, he stands out. I'm going to say it. And I never mean disrespect my game manager, because that's what a lot of times you have to do. I mean, you don't always have to go for the big play, and he doesn't always do that. And then yeah, but come clutch time, he's really good. He threw an absolute dime to Marvin Mims to take the lead at the end of the fourth, and obviously Matt Prater hit a clutch field goal at the end of the fourth to turn it overtime. But still, yeah, heartbreaking because I wanted to see both teams in the AFC Championship at full strength, but it is what it is. But turning to Buffalo now, the story for them, like you said, 5 turnovers. That's what doomed them. You could argue that James Cook fumble towards the end of the first quarter was what may have doomed them because I think they were up 7-3. They were up 7-3. Their offense had moved down the field in the first possession, scored a touchdown. Defense got to stop. They were moving down the field again, and they could have potentially taken a commanding lead early, and then James Cook fumbled it, and right after that was that Bo Nix throwing to the offensive lineman touchdown, and then took off from there. I mean, turnovers, no matter what time of the game, can be just as costly. And then yeah, Josh Allen's a stupid fumble at the end of this first half, just so unnecessary. He didn't have to do. He was doing way too much because the chances of them getting in the field goal range were very slim. And yeah, he just loose with the ball, lost it, and then Denver got it, made a field goal, and what do you know? The Bills lost by 3. So, yep, those 3 points came in pretty handy at the end of the game.
Yeah, is this the most heartbreaking loss for the Buffalo Bills? Because I mean, they've been through the ringer as a franchise, not just in the Josh Allen era, but the Jim Kelly years, going to 4 straight Super Bowls and losing. But this was a team that didn't have as loaded of a roster as maybe in previous Allen teams. But obviously, this was a year that he really needed to take advantage of, with Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow not being in the playoffs. He had quite the path for him to really make a push for the Super Bowl. But he's getting into the Dan Marino, space for his career right now that he may never ever get there.
I think 13 seconds is a little more devastating because just of the improbability of that. And because that was against the Chiefs, so if they would have won, well, then they took out Mahomes, so they took out their biggest threat. So, but yeah, this was right up there with it because they had multiple chances to win this game. I've even discussed before Matt Prater's 50-yard field goal to tie it. Josh Allen missed a wide open Dawson Knox with like 20 seconds left that would have taken the lead because he probably would have gotten into the end zone right there, and Allen just threw it over his head. So
yeah, it was a bad game by Allen. One of the worst playoff games he's had.
It was not. I mean, sure, he made a few Josh Allen plays like he always does, but yeah, he was not. It was not up to his usual Josh Allen playoff standard, and all the blame went to Sean McDermott, apparently.
Yep, the biggest news that came out of this weekend, on Monday, the Bills fired Sean McDermott after 9 seasons. So a lot of questions coming out of this one. Obviously, we'll get to the AFC title game and Denver situation, but what's next for the Bills after firing McDermott? And was it too soon to pull the trigger, or maybe too late to pull the trigger? Because this wasn't. This wasn't the season I would have fired him over.
It was both. The answer is both, because I feel like they've had a couple of playoff letdowns before that were kind of more on coaching. This was just players being stupid. I know, like I know you can say, oh, but the coach just coaches players not to be stupid. Well, it's Josh Allen. I feel like you should probably know better than that. Yeah. So yeah, this was kind of the wrong season. I think McDermott got the unfair hand in this. One thing, who was it? Tre'Davious White, or who was that the cornerback who got called for pass interference? What's his name?
So.
That was the most hilarious crash out ever at the ref, but I don't blame him. Like he had nothing to lose because the Broncos are at the 3-yard line. So what were they gonna? Well, yeah. Oh yeah, we'll move this 22-yard kick to a 21-yard kick. So yeah. I feel like he didn't crash out enough with the ref. Just I'm sure he'll pay a hefty fine to the league though.
Yeah, and maybe it's just also a situation for McDermott where it was just time to move on, get a different voice in the locker room. I mean, maybe just pairing Allen with someone new, kind of in the same way that Baltimore's trying to do with Lamar, just trying to get a different pairing for him at head coach. So we'll see what happens on the Buffalo front, but Denver is moving on. And we get to the second game on Saturday, which was nothing like the first. Seattle Seahawks 41, Niners 6, in one of the most lopsided postseason games in recent memory. They dismantled the Niners from start to finish. Seattle set the tone 13 seconds into the game when Rashid Shaheed took the opening kickoff 95 yards to the house. Franchise postseason return record that electrified Lumen Field and swung the crowd into frenzy pretty early on. From there, Seattle's defense suffocated San Francisco's offense, holding them to just 27 yards receiving from their top targets. And the Seahawks rolled into the NFC Championship with a statement win. Don't feel like we need to spend too much time on this one, but it was clearly a dominant performance by the Seahawks, who came into this game unclear on the status of QB Sam Darnold, and that's what another reason why I ended up picking the Niners, and it was fool's gold, and he didn't have to do much at all in this game. I mean, from the start, it felt like the start of the Indiana-Oregon game with the way Seattle got off to the hot start with that play, but your initial thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, we spent all that time on Buffalo, Denver, and there's really not much to talk about with this game. The final score kind of spoke for itself. But yeah, the key was the Seahawks did enough on defense and special teams and the running game. I mean, Kenneth Walker had 116 yards rushing and a couple touchdowns. That Sam Darnold and his oblique injury didn't have to do very much. To his credit, he did throw a very nice touchdown pass to Smith and Jigba in the back of the end zone. That was a nice pass. But other than that, yeah, he really wasn't asked to do much, and that's exactly what Seattle needed to do. And sure enough, that's what they did against the 49ers practice squad. That's essentially what they look like out there. And
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, it was still a hell of a season by the 49ers, given all their injuries and stuff. But I'm sure they would have rather gone out with a little more fight. But they were just down so many guys, and makes the Eagles look a lot worse. I'll say that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to congratulate they were our Super Bowl pick at the start of the season. We looked at the schedule, thought they'd get a 1 seed, had a pretty good shot at it, but ultimately injuries handicapped this season. But they made it as far as they could, and it really shows how important coaching can be when you have the right guy and Kyle Shanahan. Because while they had the easiest schedule, they still had to find a way to make it to the playoffs. And in the NFL, even you know getting to the playoffs is tough to do, and they obviously beat the defending champs despite all those injuries. So really impressed with them. I think they have plenty to take away from this season. Unfortunately, George Kittle went out with the injury, so we'll see if he's able to make it back. But for next season, but yeah, tough way to go out to be blown out in that way. But we have an opportunity, potentially Sam Darnold going to the Super Bowl, which never thought we'd ever say.
No, and I mean Seattle was just clearly the better team.
Yeah,
I mean there's no
one of the
doubt
best
about
teams
it.
in the league all year.
Yep, their defense was incredible. Yeah, special teams gave them the boost at the beginning of the game. So really, not much else to talk about this game. Like I said, 41-6 just kind of speaks for itself. So
It does.
on to Sunday, our first game took place. First game on Sunday took place in the snow, and boy, did that feel like that had an effect on both teams. There was a combined, I believe, 8 turnovers in this game. I think there were 8
I'd
total
imagine.
turnovers in this game. And yeah, it was just a horrendous performance by the Texans offense, particularly CJ Stroud. And hell of a performance by the Patriots defense. Patriots offense really wasn't very good either, but they were a little more competent than the Texans, so they were able to squeak out a few points here and there. Yeah, pretty ugly game. It was pretty similar to Texans Steelers the week before, where at times it was close, but the score was close, but it never really felt close just because of how poor the offense was for said team. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I didn't love seeing the Ohio State QB CJ Stroud having the game that he had in that game. But I said when we picked the games last week that this was the worst. Texans have the worst unit in the playoffs and the best unit, and both of them showed. Texans might have given up 28 points to New England, but a lot of that was on short fields given
One was
away
a
by the
defense, one
offense.
was a defensive touchdown. So
Exactly.
it was really 20. It was 21. Yeah.
Yeah, Stroud throws 4 interceptions, loses 2 fumbles. Just a brutal day at the office that drew a lot of sharp criticism from every analyst that you can. I mean, Orlovsky went into it saying that 31 other QBs would have won that game for Houston, but I think you got to give
Well,
some credit to New England's
okay,
defense as well.
okay. I mean, yeah, Stroud was awful, but let's. No one's talking about this for some reason, but let's take. Their leading rusher was Woody Marks, 14 carries for 17 yards. So they had no run game. Nico Collins was out for the game. Dalton Schultz, his next top target, got hurt after the first drive, and he already had a couple big catches already on that first drive. Dalton Schultz went out. They lost both of their tackles. So the one was out right before the game started. The other one also got hurt and left the game in the first quarter. I mean, I don't know what else. I mean, I think that 31 of the quarterbacks thing's preposterous given the circumstances that Stroud dealt with. Now, Stroud threw some horrible passes, made some awful decisions, but still, he was not given much of a hand to work with. When your leading rusher only has 17 yards and you're forced to throw in the snow that many times without your top two weapons and your two tackles, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe he could cut out the interceptions, but I don't know what else he could have done.
Yeah, it was tough. You feel for him, but he does have a tendency of letting things, no pun intended, but snowball when the going gets tough. You could see it all over his face and his demeanor. It was all off after a couple of those turnovers, and he's got to keep that in check if he wants to succeed in this league. But defense held tight, did the best they could. But when you're put into terrible field positions as a defense, I think it makes things look worse from a scoreboard standpoint than when you actually take it into context of what went down on the field.
I mean, one note, I mean, New England had just as many turnover-worthy plays as Houston did. They had 4 fumbles and May threw a pick, so that was 5, but they only lost 2 of those fumbles. But, I mean, yeah, May was not very good. He had a couple nice touchdown passes. I would say that Booty touchdown was more Booty. I mean, that was just a spectacular catch. Kind of bailed May out there, but I mean, yeah. If I was Houston's defense, I'd be pretty frustrated with what that offense gave because they did absolutely everything they could. Got to the quarterback, made life difficult for Drake May and company. But when you're on the field that long, you start to lose faith on your team, and yeah, that's kind of just what happened. Yep, Houston season is over in the divisional round for I think the 7th time now, and still the only team who's never reached the conference championship.
Always take them in the wild card, never take them in the divisional round. All right, well, we move on to the nightcapper. And the divisional round weekend started with a classic, and I think ended with a classic. This was a 20-17 win for the Los Angeles Rams over the Chicago Bears in overtime. A dramatic NFC battle with late swings and playoff film moments, one in particular. But the Bears, riding the arm of Caleb Williams and a stirring defense, battled back in the fourth quarter to force overtime. Chicago even had a chance to put the game away in the extra session before a Williams interception gave the Rams life. Veteran Matthew Stafford then expertly navigated the field, and Harrison Mevis delivered the game-winning field goal to send LA to the NFC Championship game. It was another overtime classic, another tough end to a magical season for the Bears. Tough game for Matthew Stafford and the Rams. The Rams defense really picked him up in this one, giving them opportunity after opportunity. And want to get to the play of the game, even though it wasn't from the winning team. A play that could have been the defining moment of a potential Super Bowl run for the Bears happened on the miraculous off-balance back to the play touchdown pass to Cole Kmet on 4th and 4 with 18 seconds left in regulation, tying the game and forcing overtime. Caleb Williams, he sprinted back to escape pressure, threw the ball deep, and perfectly placed off his back foot for about 26 yards behind the line of scrimmage, covering over 50 yards in the air to a wide open Kmet in the end zone. What'd you think of that play?
Yeah, we talked about this last week. Bears needed to stop playing so bad until the fourth quarter because that's exactly what Williams did. He was pretty bad for most of the game. He threw 3 picks, 257 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he was good. He was good at the end, as per usual. Yeah, that was an incredible play. I mean, very reminiscent of Aaron Rodgers in whatever year that was, 15, 16, maybe even 17, against the Cardinals in the wild card game where he threw those 2 just absolute Hail Mary plays and both, and then they lost and they ended up losing in overtime. So very, very similar to that. Difficulty, very difficult throws, about the same. So, yeah, very memorable play. We'll see it on YouTube compilations for a while, but there will always be an asterisk to it because difference between Rodgers' play and Williams' play is that Williams had a chance in overtime to win, and some sort of miscommunication, I think, happened between him and DJ Moore. You could also say it wasn't a really good decision by Caleb Williams to throw that ball that was picked off in overtime because they were driving and they were already at the 50-yard line. All they needed was a field goal to win, so why even take the risk of a deep pass? And DJ Moore kind of stopped running his route, and I think it was Curl who ended up with the pick. So, yeah, great play, but unfortunately, it just wasn't enough for Chicago. And going forward, they'll need to find other magic and not just the fourth quarter to make it farther into the playoffs.
Yeah, and while Caleb did throw 3 picks, you can tell he's become much more confident this season, and just seeing his growth over the course of this season. I think there'll be plenty more playoff opportunities in this new Ben Johnson era for Chicago. What about on the Rams side of things? So they've been winning these games, but they haven't looked good doing them. Now they're going to be facing a rematch with in division for the NFC title game. Obviously, the cold has to play a factor in the Chicago game, but just wasn't overly impressed with LA in this one, but their defense really came up big for them.
Their defense was good, and that's one good. That's definitely a good sign you could point to. Yes, I think the cold just affected everything, both offenses in this game. But the Rams' defense was great. I mean, it took a miracle Caleb Williams play to even send it to overtime. So, Stafford not great. 258 yards, no TDs, no interceptions, just a 67.4 QBR, but that final overtime drive, he was really good. That throw to Devontae Adams on the sideline, that was, I mean, obviously it wasn't the best throw of the game, but it was, in most NFL games, that would be the best throw of the game. I mean, that was just absolutely on the dot. No other place to put it. And it got them a big first down on like a second long, I think. So, yeah, I mean, we saw the Rams lose in the snow last year on the road. And good for them to win this year. I mean, it's a team now definitely not as good as Philadelphia is last year, but still good win outdoors. And now they're playing their big NFC West rival in the NFC Championship.
All right, so let's get to it then. Let's move on to our signature segment, the spreadsheet, our picks against the spread for conference championship weekend. Last week I went 3-1, picked myself up after my 0-6 wild card weekend. Denver came through for me as did New England, and I got Chicago with that hook. Even in the loss, I was able to get that hook there.
I did too, and that was it. I did too, and that was it for me. Yeah, I should have went 2-2. Bills game went into overtime, so I was close to being 500. Like I said, I don't regret the Texans pick. Just didn't expect that implosion. But the 49ers pick, like I said earlier, I would have changed that after I saw that Robert Saleh was doing head coaching interviews news. But yeah, let's get to it. Our first game is the AFC Championship game. We have the New England Patriots going on the road to the number 1 seed Denver Broncos. Patriots are like 5.5-point road favorite. That's due to the Vegas's lack of confidence, I would say, in Jarrett Stidham. Weather forecast looks like a high of 26 degrees, partly cloudy. It doesn't look like we're going to have any snow or anything, but it will be cold. But both of these teams are used to that. So, I think it's just who you think's the better team, and I think 5.5 points is way too many points for a road team Vrabel is the only guy who's had, if you can count Diggs, but, he hasn't played. They've had a couple guys from teams who played well, but like Drake May and all these young guys, they've never been in this kind of environment. AFC Championship on the road. I don't care if Jarrett Stidham's quarterback. 5.5 is just too much. Denver's defense is still really good. Patriots offense still hasn't shown me enough that they're as good as what they were in the regular season, and they're going on the road against a very good defense. So this is just too many points for me. I'm going to go Broncos plus 5.5. Broncos are reminiscent of the 2015-16 Denver Broncos team with a statuesque Peyton Manning, who was clearly at the bottom of the roller coaster of his career, but their elite defense was able to beat a good New England Patriots team in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, good old noodle arm Peyton Manning, end of career. Yeah, I don't know what the line for this game was before the Bo Nix injury, but I would imagine um, that Denver was at least a 1.5, 2.5 point favorite. So you're telling me with this line that Bo Nix is as worth as many points as like Patrick Mahomes is worth to the Kansas City Chiefs? No way. No way. This is huge disrespect to the Denver Broncos team as a whole and their coaching. I mean, this both teams are well coached, but Sean Payton um, is a genius at the helm of that offense. So I think even with Stidham in there, yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm taking the Broncos here. There are a lot of trends going against us here with this pick. I mean, Drake May has played well as a favorite of 3 points or more. He is 12-0 straight up, 10-2 against the spread. New England's been really good on the road this season, 8-0 straight up, 7-1 against the spread. Stidham is going to be the ninth QB to make his first start of the season in the playoffs. The previous 8 QBs combined to go 1-7 straight up in those games. The only win came back with Frank Reich versus the Bills in 1992. There are trends going against us here, but I just think the huge swing on the point spread just is a little excessive for this one.
Well, I just thought of something. I mean, Vegas probably knows that because of how the Patriot season has gone, that look for Patrick Surtain or someone to pop up on the injury report and miss the game, because that's just how the Patriots have been. That's just the Patriots' opponents all year. So maybe they know something that we don't. So maybe if another injury pops up, maybe do take the Patriots. But I just think, I just don't. On the if it was at New England, yeah, for sure I'd feel better. But on the road, I don't. Especially when their offense really hasn't shown up at home, even I don't.
Yeah. And something about the way Sean Payton was in the interview when he said, "Just watch," about having Stidham at QB. He's got something cooked up for him that's going to at least either take the ball out of his hands or set him up in good spots. This is the largest home dog in a conference championship game since the 1970 merger, largest since the Browns versus Colts back in 1968. And another quick note on this one: every AFC championship since the 2011 season has featured either the Patriots or the Chiefs. And here we are. We thought we'd escaped it once Brady was gone, but here we are. So yeah, I'm going Broncos here.
Mm-hmm. If we get a Broncos Seahawks Super Bowl, I mean, that would be. I would say this would be like this era's version of Kerry Collins versus Trent Dilfer in the Super Bowl and back in 2001. Yeah.
All right. Well, we move on to the NFC title game. As mentioned, it will be the Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. This line sitting at a 2.5 point spread in favor of Seattle. Rams and Seahawks games this season have been as tight comes, with not only both teams winning one game each, but the points and yards are nearly identical. So look at this: points scored, Rams 58, Seahawks 57 over this season in this matchup. Total yards, Rams 830, Seahawks 829. So it is deadlocked. I think we agree these are the two best teams probably in the NFL this season. We've thought that in the past couple of matchups as well across this year. It's tough. I like it. I like the number. I feel like it's a Seattle number with it being under a field goal. Sean McVay has dominated the Seahawks. He's 13-6 against the spread versus Seattle as a coach of the Rams, including 12-3 against the spread since 2019. He's obviously done well with Stafford at QB as well. Rams are 6-1 straight up, 5-2 against the spread versus Seattle with Stafford. But I don't know. I think Seattle's rested. They played basically a cupcake game the last round. I like the where the spread is under a field goal. I'm going Seattle.
Fun fact: I guess this is game 15 or 16 for Sean McVay as a coach in the playoffs. This is the first time he is playing a team twice in the playoffs. Every other, he's played 14 or 15 different teams in the playoffs. This is the first repeat opponent he's had. Yeah, it's kind of a crazy stat, but yeah. So Rams Seahawks. I believe that game was quarterbacked by John Wolford, if I remember correctly. Goff was hurt. I'm pretty sure John Wolford was, or he got hurt. Yeah, something like that. I remember that. I remember the Rams won that game at Russell Wilson, Seattle, in the wild card round. 44 degrees, partly cloudy. So much better weather conditions for the Rams this week than they saw last week. And I am in agreement with you. Stafford and company have just kind of looked mediocre against much worse defenses than Seattle in the playoffs, in their 2 games in the playoffs. And I think, Seattle's obviously the best defense they have faced yet in the postseason. I don't like this one as much as the Broncos game because if Darnold is forced to do much, this could easily change. Yes, because I still don't really believe in Sam Darnold in the clutch. Now, granted, he was pretty bad the last time these two teams played until that final drive in overtime, and he threw some absolute lasers and drove them down the field when they were Rams that went down the field in overtime and scored a touchdown. Well, he went right down the field with the Seahawks and scored a touchdown and then got that 2-point conversion. So he did step up in the clutch that game, but I still have that bad taste in my mouth from last year's playoff performance. But if he's not asked to do very much again, then it really won't matter. And the other thing I don't like about this pick is that the Rams won the first game, and then they should have won the second game, despite the flukiest play of the season, that 2-point conversion. That lateral that they called a backwards pass that Charbonnet just happened to just pick up in the end zone to give to the ref, and they called it good. Yeah, so I don't like that either, but I'm just going to go with my eye test has shown this postseason, and it has shown me that while the Rams are a very good team, they have shown signs of limitations, and against a good defense, it could be bad for them. So I'm going to go with the home pick here. I'm going to take Seahawks -2.5.
What's your optimal Super Bowl matchup here? Like, what do you want to see the most? We got 4 quarterbacks here. We got Stafford, Darnold, Stidham, May, and I think the 2 best defenses are probably Seattle, Denver. What do you think would give us the best Super Bowl matchup?
The NFC Championship game. Yeah. Yes, that's the correct answer. Unfortunately, like you said, the 2 best teams are playing each other this week. Because with Nick, if Nick's was still there, unless Stidham shows Nick Foles like backup ability, then I would definitely love to see Denver in the Super Bowl.
I guess that's a Patriots fans.
If the Patriots show signs of offense, like good offense in this game, like they showed against Cupcakes this year, then Patriots Seahawks would be interesting. But I also really feel like they need a veteran quarterback in this Super Bowl because I feel like while some of the games have been good, the play, you just watch it though, the play I feel like has just been down. Like it's led to some very good moments, but the level of play is not as good as it has been.
Sloppy, lots of turnovers.
Lots of turnovers. And Stafford, while he wasn't very good last week, he didn't throw any interceptions, didn't turn it over. So I feel like you could trust him to have a decent game in a Super Bowl. So, yeah. I don't think there's a wrong answer here because I think there's good storylines to any combination you get here. But
I think I'd like Rams Patriots, the old gunslinger against the new gunslinger, basically MVP battle it out.
I was hoping for Seahawks Texans because I wanted to see just how low scoring that could be. That would be the most entertaining that would be the most entertaining low scoring game you'll ever see. I know they played in the regular season, but I feel like both defenses have gotten much better since then. But yeah, I'm interested. This will be a very interesting Sunday. Looks like weather won't be much of a factor in either game. It'll be cold, but what else is new in January? And we'll just see. Hopefully, the best team wins. Hopefully, injuries don't play a part in either of these games. Like during the game, obviously, you can't control what's already happened. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And then we'll have 2 weeks to analyze it.
Yep. All right, let's move on to our campus corner. And no question what we're going over this week. It's the national title game. We'll start with just the game itself and then kind of get into the legacy of it all. So Indiana, fairy tale season hits its crescendo with a 27-21 victory over Miami in the CFP National Championship game, completing a perfect 16-0 run, capturing the first national title in program history. The Hoosiers led 10-0 at halftime behind a strong defense, methodical ground game, then withstood Miami's second half rally to secure the win. Indiana's Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza finished with 186 passing yards and a signature 12-yard touchdown run on 4th and 4 late in the fourth quarter that ultimately sealed the game. That play came with 9:18 remaining, gave Indiana a lead they would not relinquish. Mendoza's grit, bloodied lip and all after that dirty hit early on in that one, put him squarely in championship lore. Interception by Jamari Sharp inside the Indiana 10 with under a minute left iced the win, denying Miami's comeback attempt. But earlier, a blocked punt return for a touchdown by Isaiah Jones swung momentum firmly toward the Hoosiers. Miami's offense did make hay. Running back Mark Fletcher Jr. rushed for 112 yards and 2 scores, and wideout Malachi Toney hauled in 10 passes for 122 yards. But wasn't quite enough to overcome Indiana's balanced attack and opportunistic defense. I have a bunch of notes on this game, but I'll get to you and what you thought after this championship game.
Starting off, no one's talking about this, but that dirty hit on Mendoza, absolutely should have been targeting. That doesn't make any sense. But saying it was unnecessary roughness, I mean, I don't know what Mendoza was doing. He should have just, I don't know why, because it looked like he was kind of wanting the block. I don't know why you'd put yourself in any danger. Like I don't know why you put yourself in any danger to do that. I just hand it off and get out of there. So I feel like he was free to get hit, but it was a dirty hit to the head, which is obviously illegal. But I feel like Mendoza probably just should have, just maybe abandoned the play after he handed it off, or else that could have been pretty bad. But yes, the storyline here, first 3 quarters, IU's defense and special teams did all the heavy lifting because, frankly, this was probably the worst IU's offense had looked all year in the first 3 quarters. Give a lot of credit to Miami's pass rush and defense. But yeah, IU's defense just didn't give up anything those first 3 quarters except one long run at the beginning of the third. And then their special teams had that huge block punt when their offense was getting absolutely nothing going in the third quarter. But then the story was Miami's offense started figuring things out, but unfortunately for them, that was also when IU's offense started figuring things out too. And run game got going. Mendoza, hell of a play. Pictures from that game will be in man cave, IU fan man caves, probably for the rest of time. It's just an iconic play, iconic photographic moment. And and then like once again, they're like Charlie Becker turned into. I saw who was? Oh yeah, Portnoy from Barstool. Did you see his tweet? He said, "Why Charlie Becker doesn't make any sense? He's just a guy, Tom Allen guy, who, right. but he's a combination of Jerry Rice, Puka Nacua, and whatever." I was like, "Yeah, that's what I've been saying all year. It doesn't make any sense, but that's just what happened." But yeah, he made some great contested catches. Key for IU's fourth down conversion was huge. That Mendoza run will get all the press, but I mean, they made some other big ones that extended drives and else would have put Miami in good field position. But and then the final drive for Miami. This was really the first time I think all year that IU's defense was in this position. Like we'd seen a couple times this year where IU's offense had to score a touchdown at the end of the game to win. This was really the first time where there was like enough time where it all came down to the defense getting a stop. And so there was kind of questions like, oh, he hasn't been in this situation yet. But
Well,
then
and they
Carson
finally
Beck
made some
turned into
mistakes
Carson Beck.
too, like a
Yeah.
roughing the passer. They helped Miami on that last possession because they got backed up on third down, and that was a big play to give them better field position.
Yeah. But then Carson Beck turned into Carson Beck, and he threw a devastating interception to Jamari Sharp, and that ended the 2025-26 college season based off that place. Very fun game. I said last week, I hope it's close, and I know if you're an IU fan, you don't want as much stress, blowouts, but I feel like this was the better ending.
Yes.
To cap off what was already a magical season, to cap it off with a close, gritty win with magical plays. I don't think you could have written it up any better. And maybe now, I said last week, the movie would kind of suck because, like, they kept saying how good of a movie it would be, but I said it would suck because they're just blowing everyone out. Like, that's just boring. But maybe now you could write a decent script for this.
Yeah, and I was impressed by Miami. Obviously, first half was a struggle. I did like their final drive before half. I feel like that gave them enough confidence, despite the missed field goal, that they could actually drive down the field on this defense. They gave IU the best game since the Big Ten championship game, and the block punt, which I believe made it 17-7. I thought that was a point where this could either just snowball into a blowout win for IU, or Miami could really answer, and they got the answer that they absolutely needed with that late third quarter drive after the block punt.
Heck of a touchdown. Heck of a play call on that touch. So IU's defense is like the greatest third and short defense I've ever seen. Like, it was getting to the point, like, in the game, I was like, I would rather be like 3rd and 5 than 3rd and 1 against IU, just because. But credit Miami that second touchdown drive. That was a heck of a trick play. I don't call it a trick play, just a heck of a play design where they faked the toss but handed it off to the same guy.
When you have the athletes like Fletcher and Tony, it can definitely move a defense, and they hold a lot of attention on the field. So beautiful play there. Signetti's decision and Mendoza's run on fourth down. Obviously, something about 4th and 4 is just a recipe for amazing plays. We had the Caleb Williams on 4th and 4, and we get this one as well. Picturesque, remembered in Bloomington forever. But yeah, I thought like that final drive that Miami had a chance, but ultimately Carson Beck, ugliest QB in the league, ugliest QB in college football. He was throwing darts though. Ultimately, he forced that one in double coverage, and rest is history for the IU Hoosiers. But let's get to this legacy-wise for Indiana. What we witnessed Monday wasn't just any old championship. It was perhaps the greatest turnaround in modern college football history. Before Coach Signetti arrived just 2 seasons ago, Indiana was one of the most downtrodden programs in FBS history. More all-time losses than any other school. Signetti, a veteran coach with stints everywhere from the Army Black Knights to James Madison. Obviously, he was on Nick Saban's coaching staff once upon a time. And obviously with James Madison, he brought a lot of who the current roster is for Indiana from James Madison. He didn't just win the title, he flipped the script completely, taking Indiana from obscurity to a perfect season, a national champion in record time. The Hoosiers also became one of the only 2 teams in major college football history to finish 16-0, obviously with extra playoff games that comes with that. But the last being Yale from 1894. I don't know if you can name any players on that team, but I doubt they had any face masks.
I made a lot of money that year. I took the spread. They were favorites in a lot of games. They covered almost everything.
I mean, Yale was a dominant force. I mean, 16 championships, I think, back in the day. So, I mean, this championship does more than elevate the program. It basically reshapes the narrative on what's possible in this era of college football. A school with no prior national title now stands atop the sport. Program that once struggled to draw national attention is now a blueprint for building sustained success. Fernando Mendoza's arc from being overlooked by Miami as a recruit to beating down his hometown school for a national championship, only adds to the feel of this season. Mendoza also becomes just the 18th player to win the Heisman and go on to win the national championship in the same season, and could potentially join the likes of Joe Burrow in 2019, Jameis Winston in 2013, Cam Newton in 2010, Keon Hart in 1949, and Angelo Bertelli in 1943 as the only players to win the Heisman Trophy and national title and be drafted first overall. It's a great moment for college football, a great moment for the sport. What did you think of this season and what happened here with Indiana?
Yeah, I mean, it was just a combination of things. Historically, yes, you could say it's like the greatest comeback, improbable thing of all time. Like season wise and stuff, it's you can't really say that because you could tell they were good all year. It's not like an underdog story. Like just looking at the season in particular, it's not really an underdog story because they were dominant. But historically, yes, I mean it's like the biggest comeback you'll ever see. It just a lot of factors, obviously. I mean, yes, the portal and money has a lot to do with it, but a lot of teams have money and portal and they look nothing like this. So I think it's the greatest coaching job you've ever seen, greatest player development I've ever seen, because none of these guys are 5 stars. They're taking guys who went to James Madison a few years and turning them into pro level players now. Team that rarely made mistakes. You don't see that very often with usually teams that bring in a bunch of guys from different schools. It takes time to mesh, make mistakes and stuff. You didn't see that at all. No mistakes. They were always in the right spot. It felt like that's why their defense was so dominant, because it looked like they knew what play you were going to run, and that's just because just coaching and scheme. But then technique too. Like you'll watch their 1-star defensive lineman go up against a 5-star SEC tackle and then just spin move and beat him like off a pass rush, which is it's just technique too. So just incredible coaching. I don't think there will be, because the other thing is like IU had when NIL opened up, IU had the tools to be good because they have the largest alumni base really in the country, a lot of big money donors. So yeah, I mean, it was possible, but there are schools out there who will now look at that and think, okay, we can possibly repeat this. So don't be surprised if in the next decade or so we'll see obviously none as historically bad as IU, but see some teams who rarely have playoff like championship level success in college football make a run, because I mean they're sitting on a lot of money and they get the head coaching hire right, and anything's possible now.
And the Big Ten reigns supreme for the 3rd year in a row. And
3 straight years, 3 different champions. I mean, yeah, that's a story. That's a big story right there.
Yep.
And SEC was not even in any of those 3 championship games. So yeah, it's this NIL era has so far hurt the SEC big time.
Yep. So let's get to. We said we get to it. We got a little bit of time here for a new segment that we're debuting here called the Rotation. This is where we'll cycle through some different sports stories here, but the big one here is the Kyle Tucker deal with the Los Angeles Dodgers that has got fan bases up in arms. So Kyle Tucker agreed to a 4-year, $240 million deal with the Dodgers with an average annual value of $57.1 million. Around that value, it is the highest in MLB history on a per year basis after accounting for contract structure. It includes opt-outs after years 2 and 3, giving Tucker plenty of flexibility to re-enter free agency if he outperforms the deal. The deal also reportedly features a $64 million signing bonus and about $30 million in deferred money, which helps the Dodgers spread out cap and luxury tax figures. The Mets and the Blue Jays were also in contention for him. The Mets were reported to have made a 4-year, $220 million offer, slightly less in total value than the Dodgers. And then the Blue Jays were widely reported as a major contender. According to several insiders, Toronto offered a long-term, huge deal, as much as 10 years and $350 million. But ultimately, Tucker lands with the Dodgers, and I think it's a great deal for Tucker because not only does he get an absolute bag with this deal, but he has that flexibility to not being on a long-term contract where he could have been with the Blue Jays. There have been rumors that he doesn't care that much for baseball and is kind of chasing the money. Definitely a great deal for him and what he was looking for. But let's look at this from the Dodgers' perspective, though. In 2026, the competitive balance tax threshold, MLB's luxury tax line, is set at around $244 million. The Dodgers' luxury tax payroll, the number that matters for penalties, is projected at roughly $413 million. Some projections even as high as $429. Nearly 170 million plus over the threshold. That's not just above the line. It's in a completely different stratosphere compared with other teams. By comparison, in 2026, the Mets are at 317 million, Blue Jays 312, Phillies 312, Yankees 292. Most other clubs are between that 100 to 280 million, and a handful of teams are under 150. But that means the Dodgers are $96 million more than the second highest team, in financial terms, operating on a different scale of spending than most of baseball. The Dodgers tax payroll alone exceeds most teams' total payroll. That's the bar that gets thrown around in fan discourse, and it's true. So let's tackle this topic from the point of view of opposing fans and why there's so much backlash. The luxury tax isn't acting like a cap. Teams like the Dodgers pay higher and higher penalties. They're reported 110% tax on much of the overage, but they still spend the money. They still have the revenue to absorb it, and they still remain competitive. And so fans see this and they think, if we win 150 million over the line, we'd implode. But they just pay the penalty and sign another star. So this backlash isn't really about Tucker. Tucker's excellent. Any team would sign him. Fans are really reacting to the cumulative effect of what the Dodgers have been doing, not one contract. They sign Mookie Betts. They get Freddie Freeman, Ohtani, some other. They helped out their bullpen this year with the signing of Diaz. But deferrals are legal, fully legal, written into the CBA, no cheating. The Dodgers are essentially doing this. They pay players later, they push the luxury tax hits into the future, keep the present day payroll flexible, and stack elite talent now. So to a fan of a mid-market or even large market team that doesn't operate this way, it feels like they're playing chess and we're playing checkers, and we don't even have a chessboard. So even though every team could theoretically do this, most can't stomach the risk of carrying massive deferred obligations 10 to 20 years down the line. The Dodgers can. That's the difference. They just pay the penalties, they outbid everyone, and they still keep that flexibility, and they've got a huge ownership group that can pay it all. So I mean, another factor going into this is the massive TV contract that the Dodgers have. So that obviously helps them on the money side, but they also have stable ownership and the long-term financial confidence. So while fans are told any team can spend, what they actually learn is any team with the right ownership structure and risk tolerance can spend. And this all boils down to the fact that the stars want to play in LA for the Dodgers because they can get paid. And so the question here is this bad for baseball? I mean, yes and no. Teams shouldn't be able to just stack their rosters like this, but dynasties are what carry sports, and the Dodgers are a dynasty in Major League Baseball right now. I mean, think about the Patriots and Chiefs in the NFL, the Warriors dynasty in the NBA, the Lakers, Celtics, Bulls, even the Yankees back in the 90s. I mean, it's definitely a driving force for the league at its peak. But I think it has reached a boiling point for fans that this is getting a bit ridiculous. And it's not like the roster they built has been smooth sailing to a World Series title. The Blue Jays were one pitch away from taking them down, but baseball is a funny sport, and that moves like this don't always lead to winning. But I also think, baseball's big right now. People are talking about it, and it's always great to have a villain in your sport, and I think we have that in the Dodgers, and they seem to be embracing it. But this will most likely lead to an inflection point next season. Owners across the league are watching this and thinking, we can't compete like this. We don't want to compete like this. We need the cost certainty. Meanwhile, the players are thinking, why would we cap earnings when teams like the Dodgers will pay? Why punish the ambition and smart structuring of other organizations? So two sides obviously drifting toward an inevitable collision, owners pushing for the salary cap, players defending an open market. So deals like this, they don't cause stuff like this, but they expose it and they make it visible and make it a pretty important point whenever we get to next year and the CBA negotiations. Labor disputes, we've had them a few seasons ago. Ultimately, we were able to get the full schedule in. Next season, we might miss a few games, but I think ultimately nowadays we won't have a labor strike where we don't get a season or a World Series like in 1994. Yeah, huge story out of Major League Baseball. Definitely wanted to get to that today.
Yeah, I mean, I always love underdog stories, and I'll be cheering for the Dodgers again because I love underdogs. And you forgot to mention Blake Snow when you were naming names, just to show you how
Yeah.
just shows how deep they are. Yeah, and another thing for like Tucker, it's that there's also less pressure on him because like if he just
sweet gig.
slumps, well, if he slumps, I mean they'll have so many other options to do to make up for his slump. Like if he went to a team where he would be like their focal point and he slumped, I mean, sure, assuming he got paid the same. I know Dodgers offered the most money, but yeah, there'd be more pressure on him because if he sucked, then the fans would want him out, and they say it's an overpay. Dodgers don't really care. I mean, because they have enough talent elsewhere. So yeah, I honestly I don't mind it. I think it's funny. I like villain arcs, and yeah, I think it's good for base because, like you said, the Blue Jays were a miracle catch away from taking them down last year. So I mean, it shows that it is possible. It's not like the NBA with the Warriors where it was impossible. Right. Like it's still possible, and that's what you cheer for if you absolutely hate what the Dodgers are doing. So I still think it's good for baseball. Yeah, it might lead to problems next year, but I think it's still great for this coming year.
All right, let's get to the final word. What to watch for? Australian Open tennis is in full swing. The first major championship of the year. Hopefully we get maybe a Sinner Alcaraz matchup again in the final. But the PGA Tour heads to California for the start of the 5-week West Coast swing with the American Express at PGA West this weekend. Logan, you got anything you're looking towards this week?
So if you have not been following the NBA at all, but you remembered what we said several weeks ago, the All-Star game is going to Team USA versus Team World this year for the first time, and they named who the starters were. And Team USA, we have Steph Curry, Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Maxey, Cade Cunningham, and Jaylen Brown. Team World, we have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Victor Wembanyama, Nikola Jokic. I may have went a little fast there, but if you're keeping track, I did not name anyone taller than 6'6" on Team USA. Jaylen Brown is 6'6", so he would, I guess, play center for them. The shortest guy on Team World would be SGA. He is 6'6". And then Team World has Giannis, Wemby, and Nikola Jokic. So I thought Team USA versus Team World sounds like a good idea, but I still don't think it's going to be very good. This is so bad that it might be good. This is such a terrible mismatch that it might actually be entertaining. It'll just be 3-ball versus big guys. But nevertheless, that's not even the funny story. So the funny story is the players get a vote for who gets to play in it. And in a serious note, this is actually LeBron James's first time not being an all-star starter in 22 seasons. First time in 22 seasons he was not going to be the starter on an all-star team. So that's big news. But we had some pretty funny player vote results. LeBron James's offspring, Bronny James, apparently he got 2 votes from players to be an all-star game starter. The Giannis Antetokounmpo got 6 votes. Jason Tatum got a vote. Dame Lillard got 3 votes, and Kyrie I think got like 3 or 4 votes. And you're thinking, oh, those guys are good. Well, yeah, they are, but none of them have played a single game all year. So what are we? I mean, yeah, it's just the All-Star Week has just become a clown show at this point, and this player voting thing with Bronny James getting votes and guys who haven't even sniffed the court all year getting votes. It just shows you how deep in tomfoolery the NBA All-Star Game is right now. So that's it on my end.
It's always a joke.
Yeah.
But that's the show. Good job, Logan. This has been the KNL Sports Huddle for Logan Hubert. I'm Cage Kiplinger. May your bets hit, your team not choke, and your stress levels stay manageable. We'll huddle up again next week.